right. Hello, everybody. My name is Krasimir. I've been working in security for a while now. I really enjoy vulnerabilities, exploits, just reading about them, testing them. Anything about security really is a passion of mine. I also like playing with hardware. I like playing with like Raspberry Pi, like other small computers, microcontrollers. Yeah, I have a lot of hobbies and projects. And another thing I love is traveling. I love to visit different countries. But today we're here to talk about SEO spam. So in this webinar, you will learn about SEO spam and what attackers gain from SEO spam and how to deal with the attacks effectively. We'll go into more details about SEO spam, the different variations, and why your website might be targeted, how these attacks are facilitated, and how you can determine if your website contains any SEO spam. Obviously, sometimes it's not so easy. A lot of times you just see it on the website when you visit one day, and it's like, oh, there's a lot of spam. But in some cases, it's not so easy. So we'll discuss that, and we'll see how we can determine. Yeah, and we'll also obviously discuss some ways you can protect your website and how to prevent it from being compromised in the first place. So let's start with SEO spam and what is SEO spam? So SEO spam is usually a combination of links, keywords, and other phrases that are inserted into the website. It could be anything really. In many cases, it will include a link to another website. It could be, they could be doing it just to get people to visit their website, or it could be malware related. But in most cases, they include a link to another website which contains more spam, and they're trying just to get visitors away from your website and into the website they want to promote. And from there, it could be anything. It could be they just want traffic. It could be they have malware on their website and they just want to compromise computers on there. It could be that they're selling something. It could be some kind of like a scam or something, like pretending that they're selling some kind of product, people putting their credit card and then it gets stolen, or maybe supposedly they bought something, but the product never gets shipped. Yeah, there's so many. It's referred as SEO spam because it's usually crafted in a way that targets specific keywords. These keywords are usually around the link that they're promoting, which the attacker is trying to push to search engines, or sometimes they might not target a search engine. It might just be for visitors going to your website. They might not really count on search engines to index the site, or they might not care if the site is visible in any search engines. It might not be indexed at all, but as long as they get enough visitors from compromised websites, they don't really care. It still accomplishes their goal. Yeah, in some cases, they do want their site to rank in Google and want it to rank for specific keywords, and that's why they'll push these keywords, put them around the link. It depends in each case. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't care. Obviously, a lot of these sites don't stay long in search engines, so they might get indexed for like a day or a week or something like that. They'll gain a lot of rank, and then eventually Google will notice that this site is not really legitimate. Some of these backlinks that they had start disappearing when website owners figure out that the website was compromised, start removing them. And eventually the site will just get de-indexed completely from the search engine. But I'm guessing they don't care. They'll just register another domain and just keep going. Just keep compromising more sites, just to replace all the links on the ones that are still compromised. And here you can see some examples. These are all from Google, but it will look the same if you look at it through a different search engine. And you can see at the top, we just search for site and then the domain, and then we can search for a keyword. This is kind of a way you can try and see if you can detect any spam on your website, but you'll have to try different keywords. It could be any keyword really that they're targeting. But yeah, you can see at the top, this one is more like Japanese spam. I guess advertising Louis Vuitton. You can see that on this one, the domain, after the domain, you can see that there's a /need.php, so that me.php file is probably the one that was uploaded there by the attacker, and it's the one responsible for generating all the spam content. So they just use that file to just generate random content. And that one is probably the file that gets also pushed to Google to index it, and Google starts crawling it, and that's how these search results get on there. On the bottom left, you can see this one is targeting Nike shoes, and you can see this one is a little bit different. I mean, there's still spam, but yeah, you can see they just target random keywords. Sometimes it'll be a whole sentence. Sometimes it'll just be like random keywords that don't make really any sense. But you can see, even though we removed the actual URL, you can see after that where it has the IRIK, that will be the the actual URL on the website. And you can see that it was just randomly generated. So in that case, you're not really looking for a particular URL. You might not see it. But on the right side, you can see this one is more carefully crafted. You can see that this one is most likely a WordPress site, and it was targeting Cialis and Viagra and just medical in general. But you can see that all the links there actually make sense, and they're targeting the content, the content from the article, like the Cialis alternatives is actually talking about Cialis alternatives. So this one is most likely a WordPress site that was compromised, and literally blog posts were created, and they actually used the specific URL for each blog post, so they can generate these. This is all done automatic, but still you can see that sometimes they go through a lot of trouble just to compromise the site and make sure that their content gets indexed. And we'll talk a little bit about how does SEO spam get on your website and why. This is really important. In many cases, SEO spam gets on the website through a vulnerability. It could be a lot of things, like it depends on your website, but in general, like let's take WordPress for example, it could be a vulnerability in one of your plugins, or it could be a theme that you have, you didn't update it, or maybe maybe you just didn't update your WordPress in general, and there's like a core vulnerability those that attackers are using but never updated. Yeah, a lot of the attackers are usually looking for low-hanging fruit, so they're not looking for like big sites or anything like that. They're just looking for sites that haven't been updated in a while, and they'll just scan thousands of them. Yeah, they'll just look for through like let's say they'll have a list of like 1 million websites that they just got from a search engine or something, or maybe online somewhere they found a list of WordPress sites, and they'll just go through the whole list with the bot, and the bot will just look for websites and look for, does this website have this plugin? Okay, is it vulnerable? Okay, if it's vulnerable, exploit it. If it's not, let's check the next one. Does it have this other plugin that's also vulnerable? Can we exploit it? No. Okay, let's check the next one. And if it finds one, then exploits it, moves on to the next website. Yeah, there are many ways, many reasons why attackers might want to distribute SEO spam. Yeah, like I said before, they could be trying to get a large number of users to their own website, which would be a scam or sell some kind of product, just traffic. They could also be looking for vulnerable computers. They might visit their own website. Like let's say you visit the computer, or visit the website with your computer, like your home computer, without knowing that this one is it's a compromised website. You get redirected to another website that's their own website, and all of a sudden this website is scanning your computer, looking if you have a outdated version of Windows, or maybe your Flash plugin is outdated, or maybe you have some other software that's running on your computer that's that might be vulnerable to attacks. So they'll look for that. They'll do a quick scan. Yeah, you probably won't notice anything. There won't be any prompt or anything. Oh, do you want to scan your computer or something like that? It'll just be doing it in the background. And then it depends on the attack. Some might be silent. Others might be Might be more obvious, like it'll just flash a window and it'll be like, oh, you need to update your Flash player. And it'll be convincing. It'll look like a real window. So you click on it and suddenly you're infected. And it depends on the attack. I'm sure everybody's heard of ransomware. So it might be that the attack is targeting your computer just for ransom. They'll encrypt all your files, and then they'll send you an email or change your wallpaper or something, and just be like, we want $600, let's say. You just need to send them 2 Bitcoins to this address, or we're just gonna not encrypt your file, not unencrypt your file, so you can't use any of your files. You know, some people have important things on their computer, important files that they just can't, you know, they can't get away with, you know, not having, they don't have any backups. So they don't really have an option. Some of them actually pay the ransom. Or it could be something else. They might just want your computer just to erase everything on it. In some cases, they might want to just turn it into part of a botnet. A botnet is usually a network of computers. They're all compromised. And in most cases, the users don't know that their computer is compromised or part of a botnet. And there will be a command and control center that controls all the bots in the network, all the computers that are basically compromised in the botnet. And they can do all kinds of attacks. For example, if your computer is part of a botnet, it could be used along with all the other computers to attack one website. Like let's say there's a really popular website that makes a lot of sales and sells a certain product, and an attacker knows that they're making a lot of money. So they'll contact the owner of the website and they'll be like, I want you to pay me $1,000, otherwise I'll take your website down. Obviously, the owner of the website won't pay them, at least at first. So they'll just attack the website. They'll make so many requests to the website using all these computers that the server won't be able to handle it, and just the website will just die and just hang, and just nobody will be able to access it. And then they'll just keep sending emails and be like, we want this amount of money, otherwise we'll continue attacking the website. And some users have no choice but to pay the ransom, and just so they'll stop attacking their website and leave it alone so they can make sales and sell their product. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons. Yeah, there's a lot more reasons. It's hard to say exactly why they do it. But yeah, it's never a good reason. Yeah, I wanted to touch a little bit on small websites. I know probably a lot of people are like, well, I have a small website. You know, it's like, why would I care if my website is, you know, or why would somebody care about my website? You know, it's so small. I don't really have a lot of traffic, or I don't make any money off of it. Maybe like a personal blog or something, or, you know, it's only my family that visits my site or something like that. It's like, you know, there's no reason for them to, you know, to compromise my website. I shouldn't worry about security and stuff like that. But that's not true. Most of these attacks are done automatic. So it'll be some kind of software. We call it a bot. So they're not really targeting specific sites. It's not like your website is more valuable. It might be, but for the most part, they don't really look at that. They're not going to like look at your page ranks or how many visitors you get a month. They'll just get a list of million sites, and they'll just keep going. And in a matter of a few hours, the bot will probably be able to go through all the sites on that list. And if you're vulnerable, they'll compromise. It doesn't matter what kind of site it is. It doesn't matter what kind of content. You have a lot of visitors, not a lot of visitors. Yeah, they'll just look for something to compromise. Yeah, if it's vulnerable, the bot can exploit it, then it will be infected. So let's talk about a little bit about detecting SEO spam. This one is a little more tricky. Like, let's say you're not sure if your website was infected. I mean, a lot of times you might see it. It might be related to something else. Like, let's say your website was compromised, and then there was it was sending spam emails, or you know, or maybe like pages got deleted, or it was more severe, and then one of the symptoms of the compromise was SEO spam. You noticed that they also injected SEO spam into your website, but in some cases you might not see it at all. The website might have been compromised, but the attacker doesn't want you to know that they compromised the site. Otherwise, you erase the content, right? Or you restore a backup or something. So in some of these cases, they might just keep silent and just create new pages, like completely new pages that you might not even be able to see in your WordPress dashboard if you're using WordPress. Or they'll just hide them in some subdirectory, just like create an HTML file and some hidden subdirectory, or maybe like a directory inside a directory inside a directory. And then they'll just fill it with spam and links and whatnot, and they'll just keep it there. And there's not going to be any sign on the actual website. Like if you go to your main website, there's not going to be like a link to that specific page that has the spam, but they still give the link to Google. So Google starts indexing these pages, and well, technically they're still on your website. You might not know that they're there, but they're still indexing as part of your website. And we see that a lot with online essay sites. They do that a lot, I guess, trying to get more visitors and trying to rank these essay sites that apparently create real essays for people that don't want to write them in college and whatnot. But we see that a lot, especially recently. There's been a going trend with online essay sites. Apparently they hire people to just spread their website everywhere. And a lot of times they'll just create random pages and just put links to their own site, and you won't know it unless you search for something specifically, like online essay and then your domain or something like that, and you'll find it. So what I recommend is checking this website called Unmasked Parasites. It's a really good website to detect things like that. It can detect a lot of things, but in this case, we're looking for find hidden links. And you can go on the main website and you can look under security tools and you'll find the hidden links to find hidden links. It's a really nice tool. And basically what it does is, let me show you. This is what it looks like when you go to the page. And you can see it will search for like powered by WordPress, and then it will search for like cheap Viagra, cheap visas. It will search for like secret to increasing your credit score, Viagra, strip poker, all kinds of like spam words and any kind of keywords that might be targeted. Obviously, you don't have to use the same exact ones. You can always click on one, like open in a new window, and then move it around, move the keywords, insert your own keywords. If you want, don't use powered by WordPress if you have a different site. You can use the technique that we saw before, where you do site, then colon, and then your domain, and then space. Then you can put some keywords in there and see if anything pops up if you suspect that something might be injected into your site. There's also, if you have a WordPress, obviously, I believe there's some for Joomla as well, but there's a lot of plugins that can monitor for file changes and changes through blog posts and things like that. So that's obviously one way you can monitor. These plugins are not bulletproof. Like, they're not going to detect everything all the time. If a smart attacker goes in, they might even disable that particular plugin before it can report to you and tell you that there's some changes made. These are obviously not, they're not running constantly. They're not running all the time. Let's say some of these plugins, let's say a plugin is on a 15-minute schedule. Every 15 minutes, it'll check for file changes. Well, if your website was attacked and the attacker disabled that plugin within that 15-minute time frame, the plugin is never going to, scan again. So you just won't receive any alerts or nothing. And by the time you notice that the plugin was actually disabled and your website was compromised, then it's too late. So I wouldn't rely on that as like a bulletproof way to protect your website, but it's good to have one just in case something goes in and changes your blog post or uploads a new file. That's really nice to have when it works. It will alert you right away, and then you can make some changes. If you're in front of a computer or something, you can access your website. You can try to suspend the site or limit access to it right away so the malware doesn't spread and Google doesn't detect it and it doesn't get even worse than it already is. All right, and we should also talk about protecting your website. Obviously, keeping your website up to date is the best way. If you have vulnerable plugins, or even your WordPress, you didn't update it, or you have some other software, maybe it's not related to your WordPress, but some third-party software that you put on there, a lot of times we see people that have like a old version of their website. They'll keep a backup of their old version. Maybe they update it to a new WordPress, or maybe they migrated from Joomla to WordPress or something like that. And they just keep this old installation in like a folder called backup or something like that. That's really easy to guess. Some of these bots will do that. They'll look for directories that might be like backup, or maybe like admin, or old or something like that, different directories that might contain another website, and try to compromise it through there. So we always recommend, if you're not using something, just get rid of it. Like if you have a plugin that you never used, you just disabled it, there's no reason for it to just sit there. Remove it. If you have an old installation that you had in there, if you want to keep it, zip it, use your hosting file manager, zip the directory, and then keep the zip file, but remove the actual directory with all the files. Obviously, backup is always great to have. I mean, it depends on the infection. You can have a backup, but if your website has been infected for months and months, you might not have a backup to restore from. So then in that case, you might have to clean it and try to salvage as much as possible. But yeah, if having a backup is always a good idea, especially if your database gets infected and things like that, and there's like thousands and thousands of keywords injected everywhere, it could be almost impossible to replace all of them and find them. So having a backup to just restore the entire database is a lot easier than trying to just randomly go through articles and look for any kind of keyword that might be spam to remove it. Another thing is obviously having a web application firewall. We recommend having one that does virtual patching. A firewall is always going to be a really good idea. It can protect your website, obviously, with blocking different attack methods, different exploits. It will scan traffic, so as traffic passes through, it will scan it and it will look for what requests people are doing and things like that, so it can prevent some attacks before they even happen. Like let's say when the plugins was outdated, and if you have a web application firewall, the firewall hopefully will block that attack before it even gets there. Somebody will try to access like a file directly in the plugins directory and give it like some random query or something like that. The firewall will detect that and be like, why would they try to access this plugin file directly? And it will block it. Virtual patching is also really good. For example, our firewall has virtual patching. So if we detect any new exploit or maybe like a vulnerability in a plugin that was made public, we'll create a virtual patch for that vulnerability and we'll put it on the firewall. So even if you weren't able to update your plugin right away, let's say you have a big site and the site was attacked, but you can't, or the site is vulnerable, but you can't really push a new update because you're not sure what's going to happen. What if the site goes down? Or maybe you have like this big plugin that you're depending on, but you're not sure what's going to happen when you push this new update. Maybe it's not compatible with your version of PHP or your server or something, or Apache, or you got to make more changes. A lot of people use a staging environment where they stage the update, test it, see if everything works fine, and then push it to the live website. And that's a really good strategy that works really well. But it depends on how fast you can do that. I mean, what if you just learned about a vulnerability in one of your plugins, but it was released 10 days ago, and it's going to take you a few days to maybe to contact your developer, have them go through, update it on the staging side, and then push it in a few days after some testing. By the time you do that, your website might already be compromised. Attackers are really fast to pick up on these things, especially if it's a vulnerability that was released to the public, and even worse if there is a proof of concept, like something they can go on. A lot of times when the new vulnerability is found and released to the public, the person that found it will do like a proof of concept. So there will be like a simple script that shows the vulnerability. It might not do anything like inject malware, but it will show how the vulnerability works and whatnot. And then super easy for attackers to just pick up on that, just change it a little bit for like half an hour, make it so it injects some kind of malware or something, and just incorporate it into their arsenal they use to compromise websites. So yeah, by the time you get it updated, your website might have already been scanned and hacked. So yeah, that's why we always recommend keeping everything up to date, having a backup, and hopefully having a firewall as well to keep you protected if you can't act fast enough. And yeah, you can see this is a little graphic, the firewall and how it actually works. But yeah, you can see like injections, spam hackers, even brute force attacks and bad bots. They go through the firewall, which will be in the middle. There'll be the network of the firewall nodes. And then bad traffic gets discarded, good traffic goes to the website. So that's the best way really to protect a website. But yeah, so this is the end of the webinar. Yeah, we'll take some questions.
Not even close to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much, Krasimir. We got loads of questions. Let's see if we can sneak in at least a few of them on the live show. And then, as I've said in the beginning, for those of you that maybe joined after we started, Krasimir will go through all of the questions you guys sent, no matter if they came through Facebook, Twitter, or inside the Zoom session. And we will be having a Q&A document attached to the recording that will be placed on the same page you register for the webinar on. And for those of you who register via email in the form, you'll also get the email announcing you when these, the recording and everything is going to be on the site. So with that said, thank you so much, Krasimir. I'm going to go to some of the questions now. Apparently SEO and specifically SEO spam is a big pain in the we know where. So a lot of the people had questions. First off, when I'm SEO spam, does that mean that I'm also hacked? Or can we say that there's an equal sign between being hacked and having SEO spam on the site?
Yeah, in most cases, yeah, if you see SEO spam on your website, it's most likely you've been compromised as well. I mean, for the SEO spam to get on the website, they must have found a vulnerability somewhere. It's very rare that we see SEO spam that gets through like from a comments. Like let's say your website accepts comments and somebody just keeps spamming comments on your blog or something like that. Yeah, that's one way that you can see SEO spam on some of your comments, but they'll be only on particular articles and only in the comment section. So that's easy. You can just get a plugin to clean up the comments. But yeah, if you see like new pages created or like spam that gets injected in between like your articles, words and whatnot, like on the bottom of your articles, not just in the comments, then yes, the website was compromised at some point, and yeah, these content were injected.
Thank you, Krasimir. That's good to know. What do you think, the next question coming up here, what do you think is the best protection, if any, against SEO spam?
I mean, the best protection, obviously, it's great to update all your plugins. That's the best way to keep everything secure. But if, like I said, if you can't really keep up with that, or it takes you a few days, the best protection will be to get a website firewall. There's so many out there. You'll have to evaluate which one works best for you. I recommend one that also does virtual patching, so that when new vulnerabilities get released, these can be patched through the firewall, and then you don't have to worry about them specifically. I mean, obviously the firewall blocks attacks, but in most cases it's generic attacks that they target certain behavior and things like that. So having virtual patching, that's a lot more targeted. So yeah, I think firewall will be the best.
And it's worth mentioning that Sucuri Firewall does virtual patching as well.
Right, right.
Next question. This is actually a very interesting one. Does my industry matter to an SEO spammer that tries to come after my domain? So
yeah, I don't think the industry really matters. I mean, maybe at some point there might be attackers that target a specific industry, or maybe because the website or the product they're promoting, or the like, let's say if they're promoting like essays, and they're trying to convince college students to get free essays from this website or paid essays to somebody else to write an essay for them. Then they might target like college websites or something like that, or websites that students might go to. But for the most part, these attacks are automated, and bots are doing all the work, or scripts. It's all automated. So no, they don't really care what industry you're in or anything like that. They just take a large list of sites and just go through them and try to compromise as many as possible.
Yeah. Ruben is asking a question right now. He actually just sent it, so I'm going to skip to it. Apparently, he says, thanks for the webinar. So thank you, Krasimir. When I try to access my WordPress blog, it redirects to a Viagra website. I checked the htaccess and plugins, but could not find where the redirection is hidden. I used the Unmasked Parasites site you just presented. It reported the 301 and 302 redirects, but I can't find them. And we can help him with this.
Right. It could be also the index file. Some of the core files might have been changed. It doesn't have to be the htaccess file. It could be just the index.php, or it could be something else hidden. I mean, you could see that it's redirecting, but is it redirecting right away before it loads any content? Or maybe it's trying to load something like, let's say, it's loading the header section of your theme, and as soon as it tries to load it, then there's a random redirect in there. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly what it is.
Ruben, this is something we can definitely fix for him, right? So
right. Yeah,
you can either reach out directly to us via chat, or just buy any of the plans, and most likely maybe even Krasimir will get to work on the site. Who knows?
Yeah,
to fix it. So that's not an issue for us to clean up.
Yep, definitely.
Talking about WordPress, actually, Ruben just kind of made the lead in here. The next question that I have is there a specific CMS more prone to SEO spam?
There isn't really one that's more prone. Like, a lot of people mistake, like, let's say they look at like statistics and they're like, oh my God, look, WordPress is being compromised by this vulnerability, or like, look how many times WordPress is being compromised. But then when you look at the whole picture, and it's like, well, how many sites actually use WordPress? And it'll be like some huge number, like millions of sites that use WordPress, and how many use like Drupal or something, it's like, well, there aren't that many. So obviously WordPress will be a bigger target because it's more broadly used. So yeah, for the most part, we see WordPress a lot, but that's not because it's more prone. That's more because it's so popular and people are using it. And there's always going to be third-party plugins that somebody else wrote, not the core WordPress team. And I mean, there's obviously some people that go through them and they try to make them secure, but I mean, yeah, it's never like bulletproof. I mean, you're installing a third-party plugin on your WordPress site and you hope that it's secure, but it's not always possible.
Another question regarding plugins. So we're still in the, let's say, WordPress universe. From your daily activity cleaning sites, can you speak to which WordPress plugin is a common target for malware that generates SEO spam?
I don't think there's a common plugin. At one point, we had something like a Rev slider that was really popular, and there was a big vulnerability, and then we saw a large wave of websites getting compromised. But a few years back, we had Timtum that was also being targeted. I wouldn't say it was specifically for SEO spam. It was more like a really popular plugin that a lot of people were using, and a huge vulnerability was found on it. And so we had thousands of websites that were just compromised. Yeah, we were dealing with that for months and months, just cleaning thousands of websites. So I can't say there's a specific plugin that's targeted right now, or there's like, oh my God, there's one that's like, there's like a wave right now of one specific plugin that's causing problems. I mean, there's so many sites that publish vulnerabilities in different plugins. A lot of them get patched really fast. So no, it's not really one particular plugin or anything like that. It's usually a range of different plugins that are just easy to exploit, and there's already a vulnerability public.
We're still not leaving the WordPress universe. Greg has a question regarding, let me just read through. We recently added Firewall through Sucuri to our WordPress website, and we're unable to make edits to our site within WordPress since the IP address was changed. Is there a way to work around this so we can have the Firewall and still have the ability to edit our site via WordPress CMS? Most likely
Yeah.
this is something that they would raise in a ticket, right, to our product?
I would recommend, yeah, make a ticket, and I'm sure one of our guys can figure out what's being blocked on the site, so you can make regular edits. And there's also another solution. You can use the API that's integrated into the firewall, so you can literally get a link and then put it on your browser, like a bookmark, that link. And every time you click the link, it will check your IP, whitelist your IP, and that's it. And then you can make all the edits you want.
Yeah, so Greg, if you can't find it yourself, feel free to open a support ticket and our team will most likely easily help you with that.
Very great.
Have another one question. There's too many questions coming in, so we are really sorry, we're kind of out of time, but I still want to go through one that says, does Google always know when SEO spam attacks your site, and what to do if my ranking is still dropped after an attack? So I'm assuming this gentleman's website is already under attack. So their SEO ranking are down now.
Yeah, Google doesn't always know, or at least not initially. Sometimes it will take some time. Sometimes the attackers will intentionally not want the content to be indexed by Google, and they'll try to block bots. A lot of times Google will find a way. They have so many IPs and so many servers in different regions that eventually they'll index the content. But it could take them weeks, it could take them months, you never know. So no, Google doesn't always know if there is SEO spam. Once the problem is fixed, there's multiple methods that you can try. It depends on how many pages were actually indexed. They have the spam. If it's only a few, then you can always go through the Google Webmasters console and try to just delist those pages. There's a tool there that you can use to tell it to remove those pages from the index. And then you can also submit a sitemap. The sitemap, you have to generate it somewhere else. There's plugins that you can use to generate a sitemap if you have WordPress. But a sitemap is just like a map of all your links that are actually all the pages that are part of your website. So then when you submit the sitemap, you're telling Google that these are all my pages, and anything outside of that is not on my website. So that also helps, but there is no way to instantly recover the ranking or something like that. It'll still take Google some time to remove some of the links and index the ones that are valid, and then your rank will go up eventually.
Awesome, that's good to know. Thank you so much, Krasimir. Thank you to everyone who registered, participated today, sent questions in. If you think of questions that you didn't have time to ask now, or you think you have more advanced or complicated questions, feel free to tweet us. You see our Twitter handle on the screen right now. Use the hashtag #AskSucuri. It will get to us. We'll make sure you get your answers. Again, this recording will be available on our website within a few days, and you'll get an email with the slides and everything you followed here. We'll make sure to have all the links, especially to Greg and everybody else that asked how they can access their sites, even if they're under our firewall. Thank you again, Krasimir. For those of you who didn't know, this was Krasimir's first webinar, and I would just want to say thank you. That was really well done. And most likely, we're going to be back with Krasimir, so stay tuned. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to let Krasimir say goodbye to you, and then we'll see you in about 2 weeks for another webinar. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys. I can't wait to see you on the next webinar.